is this concept of orientation. The placement of a house on its site, where a home is placed on its site, is of course known as its orientation. So, we live in a cultural melting pot. We have a lot of people from different parts of the world that live in our great state here. And it's important to know that some cultures might prefer that the front door face west, or might prefer that the living area face east, right? So the placement of a house on its site is known as its orientation. Now, the hottest portion of a property tends to be the south-facing portion of the home. But basically, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, you know that. But as the sun is setting, the sun is not arcing directly overhead. The sun is setting through the southern horizon here in California. So the hottest portion of a home tends to be the south-facing portion of a home because it gets the brunt of the sun for the majority of the day. And that's why if you look at real estate magazines from Tahoe or Mammoth or Big Bear or Lake Arrowhead, it'll always say windows face south, or living area faces south, because that's a passive heating system that allows the property to be warmed without using the heat as much. So again, between north, south, east, or west, the hottest portion of a property tends to be the south-facing portion of the home, no matter what day you take the test or what version of the exam you happen to get. I can basically guarantee you're probably going to see one question or more about lead-based paint on your exam, and I want to give those questions to you right now. Now first, what is lead-based paint? Okay, it's paint with lead in it, right? So that's bad. Now, it's very bad if the chips are inhaled or ingested. That's why here recently there was a report of some cribs, some baby cribs that had come out of Asia, and those baby cribs were found to have been painted with lead-based paint. Now, the reason that's particularly egregious is because what do kids do with a crib, right? They chew on it and they suck on it and they bite on the bars of the crib, which can cause developmental problems in the kid. Lead paint is like radon gas, like asbestos, like carbon monoxide. It's an environmental hazard. So there's a couple, 3 questions that you might find on the exam about lead paint, and I want to give those to you right now. First is, well, what year will require a lead paint disclosure prior to 1978? Anytime you have a property built prior to 1978, the seller has to give the buyer a lead paint disclosure. Now, let's say my house was built in 1974. I got to give you a lead paint disclosure. Now, what do you think that lead paint disclosure says? Do you think it says that the property has lead paint? No, I don't know if my house was built with lead paint. In fact, the only way I'd know that is if I took off, samples of the drywall or paint, sent them off to a lab and had a lab test them. No one does that. So a lot of people think, well, okay, my house was built in 1962, but I don't know whether or not it had lead paint. And because I don't know, I don't have to give the disclosure to the buyer. That's totally not true. In fact, very few people are going to know whether or not the home has lead paint, but you still got to give the buyer a disclosure regarding the hazards associated with lead-based paint. So 3 questions for the test. Number 1, property built prior to what year requires a lead paint disclosure prior to 78, number 1. Number 2, this is kind of a tricky one. Property built after what year does not require a lead paint disclosure. Property built after what year? Well, before 78, we need it. So after 77, we don't need the lead paint disclosure. So again, before 78, we need it, but after 77, we don't. So again, in 76, we need it. In 77, we need it, pre-78. But what about in 78? Houses were built in 1978. Those homes don't require a lead paint disclosure, right? After 77, we don't need it. Before 78, we do need the lead paint disclosure. Now again, how about this 3rd question? It says, a property was built in 1974. What do we need? We need lead paint. But the seller and their agent had no direct knowledge of lead paint. Like they just truthfully didn't know whether or not the property had lead paint. They didn't know. Based on the fact that the seller and the agent didn't know whether the property had lead paint, they failed to deliver the lead paint disclosure to the buyer. Is that okay? Not okay, right? You got to give it pre-78 no matter what. Who's liable there? Just the seller, just the agent, or both? They're both liable for failing to deliver the lead paint disclosure. So again, 3 questions. Before 78, we need it. After 77, we don't. before 78, you have to deliver the lead paint disclosure whether or not you have any direct knowledge of lead paint on the property. Now, of course, if you know about lead paint, you would also have to deliver that information to the buyer too. By the way, this also applies to rental property. So if I rent your apartment, you got a building here in LA, built in 1950, you still got to give me as a tenant a lead paint disclosure.